The following program contains strong language and sexual images.
And single, holiday, and hi, this is Madonna on Countdown, and here's my
I have to say hi, this is Madonna.
Yeah. Well, what is it? Wait.
Hi, I'm Madonna.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Madonna on Countdown, and this is my new single and video, Holiday. I've always felt like such an outsider, like such a misfit, like such a weirdo. So what do I say? And I felt a freak, and I felt like I could never fit in with the prom queens and the cheerleaders and the perfect girls. I was really down on myself.
Does the name which you've grown up with mean anything to you?
It means a great deal to me. It's my mother's name, and I love my mother, so there's a link.
And she died, of course.
Yeah. Come here, brother. This is my brother, Christopher. He dances with me.
She was our mother's namesake, and her name was Madonna. I mean, it either crushes you or elevates you to something else.
Her ambition was there, and it's what drove her to go through a whole lot of suffering to get where she was going. I mean, she did not have an easy life.
There was this star just fucking radiating who was looking for a deal. She said, I want to rule the world.
What does this mean? Does that mean good? Okay.
I think she's awesome, man. She's great. She can really dance to her music.
Madonna sells more than 75,000 records a day. Not bad for a 25-year-old girl from Michigan.
Madonna, the sultry singer who has parlayed a trampy, trashy style and is about to be exposed, literally.
I kept seeing myself through macho, heterosexual eyes. I suddenly thought, that's not the only way that I have to be.
Being a female in American culture is that you are supposed to be a whore, but you're not supposed to say you're a whore.
She was ruthless, in a good way. I mean, look what it got her.
Most people want to call me trash and a slut because I'm open about what I'm doing.
I don't want to have any sense of shame about it, and I don't want to have any sense of regret. Why should I? Part of the reason I sort of shot out like a cannon out of Michigan and like left home at such an early age was because I had to feel independent. But I was going to be somebody and I was going to make something out of my life, and I was not going to spend the rest of my life in the boring Midwestern suburbs. When I came to New York, it was the first time I'd ever taken a plane. It was the first time I'd ever gotten in a taxi cab. I'd never been to a big city like that before. New York's really overwhelming when you're 17. I came here not knowing anyone, with $35 in my pocket. It was the bravest thing I've ever done. And my goal was to conquer this city. Okay, here we go. Originally, I'd come to New York as a dancer. You know, I danced in a lot of companies while I was living in New York, but it wasn't fulfilling enough for me. Most of the kids in my ballet classes, they were these really like spoiled little bratty girls. They didn't know anything about music or art. They were really boring to me. And I found myself rebelling. And I cut my hair really short, grease it so it'd be sticking all up. And I'd rip up all my tights and make a big cut down the middle of my leotard and put safety pins all the way up it. Just anything to like stand out from them and say, I'm not like you, okay? And that's when I started exploring other territories and really quitting like going to my dance classes every day.
I'm gonna come in, walk in the door and say, oh, it was a rough day at work.
Then I started hanging out with people in the art world and the sort of the downtown Lower East Side scene and musicians, but it wasn't that planned out.
I think what was most spectacular about the time was the diversity of the music. It was a big mishmash of things. You had discos going on, you had dance starting. The punk scene was just gigantic. There were a ton of clubs. There was CBGB's, there was the Mud Club, there was Max's Kansas City, the Bitter End, the Bottom Line. You could see live music from 8 o'clock at night till 4 in the morning.
The times in mainstream America were very, very conservative. On top, you had Reagan running for president, and they would say the moral majority.
I can only add to that, my friends, that I continue to look to the scriptures today for fulfillment and for guidance.
But underneath, you had all this creativity. Music was just exploding. Africa Bambaataa would be hanging out with the Beastie Boys and David Byrne from Talking Heads. This whole like new wave of who didn't fit really any mold. But that scene, that existed because New York was a shithole and they could afford to live with no money.
Last year, major crimes on New York subways rose 17% over the previous year. Nearly 5,000 robberies, 24 rapes, 20 murders, 600 aggravated assaults.
I lived in this place where all these prostitutes, I was often mistaken for prostitute walking down the street.
I never thought I would get used to seeing people laying on the streets, living their life publicly on a sidewalk. I was in shock.
I met Madonna at a May Day party. We interacted a little, and then we were in the bathroom because she needed help with something. And she said, "Aren't you going to kiss me?" And so I did. She had come with somebody, and we left together. I don't know what happened to that poor fellow. She knew I was living in this former synagogue, which was in bad disrepair. And after a while, she moved in. My brother Ed and I always had bands. Right outside our bedroom, we had the drums and the guitar. It was just a big studio space. Madonna just loved that.
They had a band already, and it was called the Breakfast Club. He went off to work every day with his brother, and I kind of stayed there and used their studio all day long till they came back to practice. See, I kept wanting to play in their band, and they kept saying, no, you know, there's no opening, sorry. So for a year, just locked myself away and taught myself to play drums and guitar and piano. So I had enough knowledge to write music, and then the songs just started coming, you know, like crazy. And then the drummer quit. Then they finally let me be in their band.
She had a real good sense of rhythm, and I guess that was because of the dance background. You know, you couldn't help but be impressed. She wasn't a big person, but she could hit powerfully. In that year and a half, she wrote so many songs. Every few days, she'd come up with some new song about her experience and what she was feeling and the separation anxiety from being away from home. Letter from Daddy was one that she wrote. She was disappointed that he was disappointed in her, leaving home, coming to New York. And she had a line in that song, "You love the dream you had for me." It was hard to blame her father for being worried. I mean, she came to New York with nothing, just the wits. Oh, man.
Age to age, you gather a people to yourself.
My father and mother were very religious and very Catholic.
Come the body and blood of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ.
10 Commandments and sacraments, etc. My father was first-generation immigrant.
His parents came over on the boat from Italy, and a real disciplinarian, very strict.
Very old-fashioned, traditional, macho Italian world.
The girls got all the lectures, and we were told about modesty, and we had curfews, and we had to dress a certain way, and we had to behave a certain way, and we did this, and my brothers could do whatever they wanted.
When we got home from school, we changed our clothes, we did our chores, we did our homework, we ate dinner, we weren't allowed to watch television, and it was a very kind of regimented life. He didn't like us to have idle time. He thought that we should always be productive. You know, me saying, well, you know, I don't want to go to college, I want to go to New York, you know, it just didn't make any sense to him because it seems like a hobby, you know what I mean? Not something serious, something that you could make a living at.
The band was doing pretty well. But then at some point she wanted to be the singer, which, you know, wasn't my thing. I wanted to sing and play, you know. I didn't want to be a side person. She wanted to be the star of the show.
I begged them and begged them for months to let me sing one song. And then they did, and then I got a taste of that, and then I didn't want to play the drums anymore, and then I wanted to play more songs, and eventually they booted me out because I was hogging all the space, you know?
That more or less was the end of it, yeah. That part was over, the romance.
The club scenes all over New York were fed by all the people in the music building, which is where I had my recording studio. It's filthy, it's dirty, it's grungy. There are policemen doing busts, you know, in hallways. And this is where Madonna was living.
This guy that I knew from Detroit, Stephen Bray, he had a lot of musical training and he could play every instrument. He had been playing with a lot of different groups and he had the keys to a lot of rehearsal studios.
The music building is a really magical place. You know, you get to snippet a vocal and like guitar riffs. The echo of a snare drum. It's like an ocean of sound. Madonna and I, we came to basically live there. Madonna has the grit. She's just got that kind of willpower. Midwestern people are hardworking people. And that if you want to survive, you have to be willing to put in the time and put in the effort, and things aren't given to you.
One day, I forgot my keys. And I'm knocking on the door, and her face comes right into the square. And she opened the door for me. I said, thanks a lot. She said, you're gonna open doors for me someday. And just walked past me.
Well, we were aware of Camille. She was the closest thing we had to sort of management. So Madonna being Madonna was very, very much aware of that, I'm sure.
She understood that I had contacts in the music business. She made it a point to see me and talk to me as much as she could. I said, when's your next gig? I'll be there, and that was it. Madonna had aspirations for a Blondie kind of thing. It was rock music. It was what was being played in the clubs. It had nothing to do with dance. There was something about her that kept me mesmerized. She had a sense of performance that doesn't exist in people that have been performing for years and years. I had made my decision. I was going to sign her. But I had to fire that band. I fired the band because they were just okay as far as musicians are concerned.
I knew that Madonna planned to break up the band and work with Camille. I was disappointed, but you know, these things happen, right? People have to move on. There was sadness around it, but I was glad she was pursuing her dream.
We came together with the desire to make this happen no matter what. Her ambition was there, and it's what drove her to go through a whole lot of suffering to get where she was going. I mean, she did not have an easy life.
But does the name which you've grown up with mean anything to you?
It means a great deal to me. It's my mother's name.
And she died, of course.
Yeah.
You lost her very early in life.
Yeah.
What happened, you know, when I was 6 years old, it just was the greatest event of my life. It was like a part of my heart was ripped out.
What do you remember about her?
That she was beautiful and sweet and a hard worker.
I wonder how much of her is in you.
Yeah, well, I'll never know.
I was forced to grow up fast and understand my mother's death. To understand the psychological, like all the things that were going on is too much for a child, I think.
I think when my mother died, things changed emotionally with everybody. I know my father put a great deal more pressure on her to be our guide. She was my mother's namesake, and her name was Madonna. I mean, it either crushes you or edifies you or elevates you to something else.
In a big family situation, you're like fighting to like be noticed and stand out and everything.
I wanted to get my father's attention. So I've sort of had this emptiness that I've had to sort of go out into the world to fill up.
When I think about 1982, there's a lot of music going on. Madonna was working in Camille's studio. I always felt that Camille's vision was anthemic songs for women, very much like a Pat Benatar. It was good. It was solid. There was nothing wrong with that stuff.
We couldn't decide on the direction that I wanted to go in, and she wanted to promote me more like new wave or rock or whatever you want to call it. And I was writing really funky stuff, and she said, you can't do that. And I said, look, this is the way I'm developing as an artist, and you can't stop that.
I was working on my own tracks, which were much more sort of like R&B and pop and club. And Madonna would come in, and she usually had a notepad full of fragments of lyrics. And she'd say, what do you think of this? And we sit down and we just, for the next 10 hours, we're just kind of laying down vocals.
Late at night, we'd go back to these studios where they had 4-track and 8-track recording things, and we made our own demo tape. On our own, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, we'd go there every night.
So Ain't No Big Deal, it's kind of disco-y. And my version of it was beloved by my mother, but no one else. So I asked Madonna to sing it.
We played between the two of us all the instruments on it, and I did all the singing. We wrote the songs together.
When she sang Ain't No Big Deal, she sang it with all her heart. And it really kind of just clicked. I did not know that she was taking it around Danceteria or other dance clubs.
I wasn't going to go to record labels because I know they never listened to all the tapes. So I went to clubs because I know that A&R men from record labels go there and they bring their new records for the DJ to play.
You know, the big DJ at Danceteria, he told me that this girl was coming by who was trying to get him to play her demo. I mean, it was good. It wasn't great, but there was this star just fucking radiating who was looking for a deal. I always ask artists, what do you want? And the best answer I ever got was the one that Madonna gave me, where she said, I want to rule the world. Seymour Stein, my boss, was in the hospital. So I said, look, I'm going to go play him these demos tonight. Why don't you come by the end of the day tomorrow and we'll go up and we can meet him.
I was hooked up to all these machines. I hadn't shaved. I was wearing the regulation pajamas with a slit up my backside. When she walked in, I could tell right away she couldn't have cared if I was laying in a coffin as long as I could sign a contract. That's how it all began.
All this was going on behind my back. I'm not aware that there was a dance song that had gone to labels. I get called to Billy Joel's lawyer's office. She's there, she's lying on the leather couch, chewing gum and blowing bubbles. And it was a 10-minute meeting. Madonna doesn't want you as her manager anymore. We're letting you go. Silence. Well, I said, I'll get legal representation, and I walked out, shocked. It took me days to get upset and cry.
I've been, dropping off musicians and changing personnel because I know they weren't the right people. You gotta know intuitively you're with the right people, or it's pointless.
For a while, everything was okay, but then I got a manager who wanted to fit me into an image, an idea in her mind that she thought I should be more like Debbie Harry or Pat Benatar or something like that. That's tired, right?
When we first went into the studio, it was going to be Ain't No Big Deal is the A side and Everybody is the B side. Ain't No Big Deal just did not come out good. We just didn't like it. But Everybody sounded really good. So that was the first single. And we set a tone with that. She was taking all these different things. The disco world, the new wave dance world, the punk rock scene. Putting it into one amazing package. Then we just started to do gigs.
What does this mean? Does that mean good? Okay. You have to wait.
We would book 3 or 4 clubs on a Saturday night.
Ready? Okay, we're ready.
Live at Uncle Sam's from New York, Madonna!
Back then, people would do track dates, which was the music, and they would sing live. And they'd just go around with this beatbox, make some money, and off to the next.
How about a hand for my dancers? Come out here, you guys. Aren't they great? That's Christopher, Erica, and Bags.
My brother Christopher and I have always been the closest members of my family.
Come here, brother. This is my brother Christopher. He's also part of my big family, and he dances with me, and he was inspired and came to New York after I was here.
Madonna was doing club dates, and she said, come back to New York. I want you to be one of my backup dancers. It wasn't fun, but she's my sister, and I love her. And I didn't have a job, so we did it. Some places, they loved us.
All right, we're gonna take a holiday.
Some places, not so much.
Like what? What's up with you? Huh? Yeah, I can see that.
Go out to Long Island, and they absolutely hated her.
Well, I'm doing what I want to do, all right? And I know you're gonna like it. Okay? Don't do anything with that hat.
I mean, they were throwing cups and napkins and bottles and shit.
Thank you very much. Good night.
I had miserable low points. I had terrible feelings of loneliness. I just kept thinking, this is a rite of passage. I have to pass this test. And I refused to accept that anything but success was going to happen eventually. You know, I just didn't think that failing was an option.
Okay, and now No Entiendes is proud to present a Sire recording artist, Madonna. Like, get up and do your thing! Go on, girl!
I was at Howie Montaug's No Entiendes, where Bags, Erica, and Martin Burgoyne danced as backup dancers. Martin was Madonna's best friend.
Martin was the bartender at a club in East Village. We lived in the same apartment, and we were just inseparable. When I started to make records and stuff, he was my art director. He helped me design my album covers, and he'd go on tour with me and help me with my shows and things like that. He was really my best friend.
I think one of the reasons that Madonna could be so close to Martin was that he was gay.
From the very beginning, gay clubs loved her.
Bonnie, put me on the list.
Good to listen. I'm glad to. I just got here. I'm dancing and boogieing down with the Pop-Tarts tonight.
This is great.
See
Okay,
you in
because I
there.
gotta wait for 2.
And the gay community became a major influence for her career and also a turning point for her music. Martin Burgoyne was Madonna's link between the new wave community and the gay scene. But I'm talking about the cool gay community.
I'm afraid some of you came here expecting a classy drag act.
And the people who were influential. Basquiat, Keith Haring, singers, performers, dancers, all collaborated.
Downtown was more than a location, it was a mentality.
We're gonna shake Keith's hand, all right?
The artists got together and you talked about different things. We just all worked together on these projects, and it really became a community.
Because there's tension. This is like sort of feeling in the air that everyone's going somewhere, and there's a feeling of desperation and a feeling of urgency, a feeling of like being on the edge. It's inspiring.
They were creating a new genre of culture, not just music, not just art, but a liberating movement.
The two of them were quite a couple, Martin and Madonna. I really liked Martin a lot. I would just say she wasn't the nicest, she wasn't the friendliest person, you know, because she could be pretty hard. And I think he softened her edges a lot. She could relate to him because he was gay. They could really be friends. I don't think she could be friends like that with a straight guy.
I feel that most gay men are so much more in touch with a certain kind of sensitivity that heterosexual men aren't allowed to be in touch with. To me, they're more whole human beings, in a way, you know, than most of the straight men that I know. So I'm naturally attracted to them.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Go ahead, Ian, before like people start getting really weird.
Okay, go.
We had already put out 2 singles that had done really well in the dance charts, but we hadn't crossed over yet. So we decided we needed a manager.
I just said, who's the manager of the biggest act right now in America's Day? I want his manager.
I mean, Freddie DeMann was managing Michael Jackson. Was at the time the biggest star on the planet.
A friend of mine, Seymour Stein, he said, I'm sending out this artist of mine. I just signed this girl, Madonna. She's looking for managers, and I'd like you to meet her. I told him I really didn't want to, and he said, look, I'm telling you, she's gonna be a star.
We had a meeting with Freddie DeMann.
I was immediately attracted to her. Madonna has returned something.
Madonna and Freddie had this great meeting, and he told me that he was going to, quote unquote, manage my girl. And his assistant comes in and says, Freddie, you have your conference call now. And Freddie said, well, if you guys don't mind, why don't you stick around? And he says, here's a video, and we're going to premiere this on MTV in about a week. So he presses play and leaves, and Madonna and I watched the long-form Michael Jackson Beat It video. We were both blown away. We're sitting there speechless. It was one of the first long-form videos. No one had ever done anything like that before. The quality of the filmmaking was just incredibly high. You know, this video is just going to change everything. Back then in America, you just had radio stations. You had to get on 100 stations in America to break. MTV changed that.
The record industry has found a marriage with television. The results are videos, top musical hits put to pictures. Another result is MTV, Music Television, a nationwide cable channel.
We both thought that Madonna visually was so striking and so engaging and so different that if we did it right, we could really conquer the planet.
I said, I'm as talented as Michael Jackson. If he could exploit his image, I just said, okay, I'm gonna get into this.
I first met Madonna in 1984, and I was a struggling young filmmaker living in Los Angeles. I had made a music video for my friends who had a group called the Tom Tom Club. It came to the attention of a man at Warner Brothers. He said, there's this girl, I think she's gonna be a big star. If she likes you, if you like her, I'll give you some money to make a music video. The song was Borderline. I said, I think it'd be really cool for you to be dancing with these kids in a playful way. I was really impressed at the way she was able to pull the choreography together. We just turned on the music and figured it out. She just has this ability to connect with the camera that is supernatural. She's like a magnet, and the camera just connects to her face.
Is the image of you really you?
I would say so.
Is it a look, an attitude? How would you describe it?
I think it's an attitude more than anything.
My goal always from the beginning with Madonna was not to impose a character on her because she didn't need me to do that. What she needed me to do was like capture that character.
You know this is a business that exactly wants to slot you, wants to describe you. Where do you fit?
In the new category that I've defined.
What's new about it?
Me.
We're rolling. Let's do a rehearsal, kids. Come on, up and at 'em.
When she started to become famous, people just were like, oh my God, she sold her soul to the devil. Nobody becomes that famous that fast because it was just so meteoric. And I have to say, she never looked back.
So tonight here at Radio City Music Hall, some famous faces have come out to celebrate. The occasion was the first annual MTV Video Music Awards.
Her manager, Freddie, wanted her to perform Borderline, which was the single at the time. She said no. Madonna fought with him and really fought hard to do Like a Virgin, and Freddie, you know, he lost the argument.
Just about to lose, Mama.
That was the first time she performed it live.
The performance at the MTV Awards.
Yeah.
You came down those stairs dressed as a bride, then
Yeah.
crawled all over the stage. You actually did shock not only just the press and that, but some of the industry as well.
My manager had only been with him for a short time, and he came backstage and he was white. I mean, he thought that, you know, he couldn't speak to me.
I was embarrassed. Just because it looked like a mistake. And her rolling around on the floor, I was like, oh my God, my father's gonna have a fit.
Do you remember the first time you set foot on stage?
The first show I ever did was in 6th grade.
and I painted my body with fluorescent paints, and I put a bikini on and danced to a song by The Who. My father grounded me for months, but I loved it. I lived for it. And that's when I felt most comfortable.
And I gotta say that her manager, the record company, tons of the people at the actual award show thought it was an absolute disaster. But it really proved to be as pivotal as the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show.
All right.
That was the nuclear bomb.
Okay, let's hear it from Madonna.
You know, people were really wondering what was going to happen next.
Madonna. If you think we are referring to the sweet expressions by the painter Raphael, you clearly do not have a teenage daughter.
Did you enjoy the Madonna concert?
She's excellent. I think she's awesome, man. She's great. She's really good. You can really dance to her music.
Here we have the girl toy belt buckle, the ringlets, lots of those. Basically, we're looking for the Madonna look, and you turn out to have it.
Yes, I love Madonna more than life.
Madonna sells more than 75,000 records a day. Not bad for a 25-year-old girl from Michigan.
Any predictions for the future year?
Every little girl between the age of 10 and 18 is going to want to look like me.
I like the way she acts because I think all women should be able to act like they want without being run down by men at all.
She was sexual enough to be of interest to the record industry, but she also spoke directly to, you know, the women and girls.
Madonna wants to know how many people are going to see the Virgin tour.
Teenage girls, they're looking at it and they're saying, everybody feels that way. Why can't I feel that way?
Is this yourself or an imitation of Madonna?
It's an imitation of Madonna,
This is
but
myself.
inside is me too.
She gave them confidence. She gave them her confidence. And people were scared of that, believe me.
Not the sort of girls you'd take home to mum for tea.
A lot of people think that she projects a bad image for young women. What do you think?
Definitely not. I'm glad I don't have a daughter her age.
Why is that?
Because of the image. I mean, I just can't believe it.
It was a moment where everybody was confronted with this image. The people who were outraged by Madonna probably wouldn't choose to go to a Madonna concert, but that particular person might be watching the news when a clip from it is shown.
I don't agree with a lot of what she does on stage. I really don't.
Maybe there needs to be a little older crowd, perhaps?
Her audience was like really much younger than anyone expected. Over and over you saw like 9-year-olds singing like a virgin.
When you dress up like this, how do you feel? I feel wonderful.
What are these kids really saying? I want to be a virgin, but I want to be a virgin who looks like I'm a slut.
The press affected her most when she started to get big, and the papers decided to focus in on hating her.
Most people want to look at me as this tardy little bimbo. They call me trash and a harlot, whatever they can, because I'm an overtly sexual person in my image. You start thinking sexuality is a bad thing, that's when you start having problems.
Today, some rock songs are downright X-rated, and that's got people from Main Street to Pennsylvania Avenue saying enough is enough.
One recent survey by a Washington-based research council concluded that Americans were far more religious than the people of other nations, that an overwhelming majority of Americans disapprove of adultery, teenage sex, pornography, abortion, and hard drugs. And this same study showed a deep reverence for the importance of family ties and religious belief. America is in the midst of a spiritual awakening, and a moral renewal.
Adam is in the wrong position here. I think. Want me over
I
there?
don't want to answer all those questions again.
No. This was okay. Don't get all grumpy on me now. Please.
I cannot emphasize what a shark pit it was from a young woman who's coming into that world.
If you are a powerful female and you don't play the traditional role that you're supposed to play, then you are going to be intimidating to people.
As a woman in the 80s, if you're an artist and you have an open mind about sex, get ready to pay for it.
I ended up hearing when people in the business would talk about her, it wasn't positive. Just the whispers were like, she can't really sing. She doesn't really have talent. She slept her way to the top.
Now she's launched a major tour as the country's hottest female performer with a triple platinum album. She's done it by rocking the boat with uninhibited sensuality and a reputation for doing whatever it takes to get to the top. But her rise to stardom is cluttered with resentful rumors about using and dropping beneficial men on her way up.
Are you out of your fucking mind? She did not have to give sexual favors to Freddie DeMann. She didn't have to do it to get her record contract. She didn't have to do it with the people at Warner Brothers. So give me a fucking break here. It's just sexism.
Material Girl, intended to show that Madonna looked at men as sexual beings who were there for her pleasure. She's not interested in a rich guy so that she can use his money. She's interested in a cute guy so she can use his body.
Why couldn't you sleep with whoever you wanted to sleep with just because you're a woman? If men can do it, so can women. When I directed a video, we kind of realized we just had a lot of the very same feelings about the rules of the game.
I always thought that because I didn't have a mother, that I somehow didn't learn all of those subservient things. I didn't learn manners. I didn't get all of that, okay, you have to sit this way, you have to dress this way, you have to act this way.
Sharon wanted everything to go smoothly. I said, well, we need to have some attractive men on the set. We came up with the idea that we would get Sean Penn.
It was like a bomb went off. America's bad boy and America's bad girl.
24-year-old rocker Madonna says her heart belongs to her leading man of many months, actor Sean Penn. But can a material girl from the Midwest find happiness with the star of Bad Boys?
She was genuinely in love with him. But it felt as if the attraction between the two of them was fueled by the public. He was the budding movie star, she was the budding rock star, and the public demanded that they come together.
They get followed everywhere. They put a lot of pressure on the relationship. It's very intrusive. But I think she was more capable of dealing with it than he really was.
Some of the people in the news, rock star Madonna, her fiancé actor Sean Penn, and Orion Pictures have been sued for $1 million by a photographer who says Penn beat him with a rock in Nashville.
The press that has slammed me, I say f them.
It is interesting that Sean Penn found Madonna the world's most public woman and fell in love with her. And
Well, opposites attract.
yeah.
I mean, I specifically don't want to discuss Sean and how he handles himself. He's a grown man and he makes his own decisions about that.
Madonna, the sultry singer who has parlayed a trampy, trashy style into a rock star respectability, is about to be exposed, literally.
Away from the teen magazines, on the top shelf at your local newsagent, Penthouse and Playboy are vying with each other to present Madonna at her least saintly.
Both Playboy and Penthouse hitting the newsstands today with nude photos of the Material Girl taken in 1979 and 1980.
Mayor Timothy Sullivan had planned to honor Madonna in Bay City, but now because of those pictures he hasn't seen, the mayor is changing his plans.
I don't think it would be appropriate to present a key to the city to Madonna. Key to the city is the highest accolade Bay City can bestow upon its citizens, and it carries with it a certain moral tone as well.
I heard about it the day they came out. Went and bought one. My thought at that time wasn't so much about her, but about my father. I was imagining his co-workers looking at that stuff, him having to deal with it. Felt like this must have really embarrassed him.
I think that's the first time I was in front of such a big audience. It was right when the Playboy magazine had come out. Before I'd gone on, I just thought, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't go on. Because I was so unsure of what was going to happen.
I'm sympathizing with you by keeping my coat on, okay? So don't feel bad. No, I ain't taking shit off today. You might hold it against me 10 years from now. Put your troubles down. Come on now. It's time to celebrate.
By going out on the Live Aid thing and just covering yourself up. That Playboy and Penthouse.
Yeah, but see, I don't. I just want to say that it doesn't matter what I'm wearing. Ultimately, I had the same amount of energy, the same amount of flirtation. What I wear has nothing to do with it, and that was what I was trying to say to the public. You know, I'm dressed from my neck down to my ankles, or I don't hardly have anything on. I'm gonna still be the same person that I was. It doesn't change.
I think it caused a lot of problems with Sean. And in that regard, it was very unpleasant for her.
I think that Madonna got exhausted reading all this crap, but it sold newspapers.
Well, this happens to be, though you may not know it, a very big day. This is the day that rock singer Madonna is expected to take pen in hand. And of course, I'm talking about Sean Penn.
I have designed the wedding dress, and it was the one thing every single journalist was calling. She's going to wear a bright red wedding dress. She's going to come out like the devil. It was a crazy affair.
That wedding was pretty phenomenal. Sean had introduced her to Hollywood in a way that was mind-boggling. We were definitely the weird kids from New York, for sure. Her best friend, Martin Burgoyne, was there, Keith Haring, and Andy Warhol.
There was a lot of secrecy involving the exact location because they were afraid of the paparazzi.
And there was, 10 helicopters hovering above everything, so you couldn't hear anything. But it got Sean riled up and threatened to shoot at the helicopters.
Sean Penn was pretty pissed off and I guess wrote something like, "fuck you," in the sand so the helicopters could read it.
We couldn't hear the vows, but
I was there to have a good time. You know, you can't let it bother you.
I don't think she wanted the wedding to be like that. She was trying to stop Sean from doing stupid shit. Well, looking back, all the craziness that went on, and I think it may have been a bad omen for the future.
After Madonna's wedding to Sean, she was now part of the LA scene. We didn't see her in the clubs. We didn't see her at all.
And that's when Martin started to get sick. We didn't know what it was. He was just really sick. He retreated to his apartment, and so we would try and drop off food, and he wouldn't open the door. You know, by the end of 2 weeks, we had to get him to open the door.
Madonna didn't know Martin was sick. He told everyone he had the measles.
We started hearing about this thing, and friends started getting sick. They didn't want to tell anybody because everybody was afraid to talk about it, and everybody was afraid to admit it.
Federal health officials say as many as 1 million Americans may have been infected with the AIDS virus, and more than 12,000 are expected to develop the deadly disease next year.
The diagnosis, AIDS, always fatal. Officials don't expect the disease to spread as rapidly among heterosexuals as it has among gays and others in the high-risk groups, where there are 14 new cases daily, 6 deaths every day across the country. It will be twice that many this time next year.
More loving kisses on this holiday. Good to see you.
New York was devastated, and it wiped out a large part of the scene.
So soon you'll take me.
There was also this incredible wave of sadness that was kind of washing over the dance floor. It just wasn't a party anymore.
It was kind of like Vietnam in a way. That here are all these people your own age who've been sent to war, and half of them are coming back dead in a casket.
Magic world, your sky all hung with jewels, the killing moon.
It was like all these people that were so close to you.
Fate.
And you were also frightened for yourself.
I told Martin, I'll take care of the medicine, no problem. Then I found out it was like $1,800 a month. I was paying for a few months, then Madonna found out, rented an apartment in the village, and paid for everything. Her husband at the time, Sean Penn, she convinced him to fly to Mexico to get a drug that would possibly cure AIDS.
I mean, then there were vicious rumors and claims in the tabloids that Madonna had sex with Martin and that Madonna had AIDS and that she was going to give AIDS to Sean. That was one of the things that was the most upsetting to her. That was to involve Sean in this lie, in this sort of made-up tabloid crap.
When they want to say bad things about you, they rarely criticize your work. They criticize you personally. They always go for your throat.
People could say, Madonna, you really shouldn't be concerning yourself so closely with someone like this. It could be harmful.
Yeah, but he was my best friend. What could I do? I loved him, and people treat, people with AIDS like they're lepers or something. If they contract AIDS, all their friends kind of disappear. Well, then that's not a friend. How could I desert him?
Martin did not want to die. He was angry and broken by it. If we sat him up, he could stay awake long enough for her to get here. He made it really clear that we had to do that. She came with Sean, and all of us just gave her space, and she sat and talked with him and told him how much she loved him. I think for him, she was a soulmate.
Roland, do you fear religion?
Do I?
Fear religion.
Do I fear it? No. Not
You fear it?
not in my life. I fear the power and influence that, say, like the moral majority has on this country, but I don't think that's really about religion. I think that's about ignorance.
The leader of the moral majority had his own suggestions for handling the AIDS problem, the Reverend Jerry Falwell, and he seemed to hint that he would not mind seeing disease victims rounded up like animals.
The fact is that God created Adam and Eve, and it was Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
It's a perversion, and what the U.S. Supreme Court has called deviant activity.
People get scared and they like to blame groups and they like to lash out at them. The message is that AIDS is a gay disease and that there's something wrong with you if you're gay.
We don't need you in America to make this country wait!
And I totally disagree with that.
Just die. You're not worth anything anyway. We'd love to be able to eradicate you, and this disease has come in to do it for us.
Your last parade because of AIDS!
Most of these people, they're not fit, they're not human beings, they have emotional problems.
We're going to see them going out and publicizing their lifestyle and influencing our children.
What sort of role model would you like to be now?
I feel like in 5 years from now, all of my friends would be dead in a way.
One of your best friends?
Yes,
Yeah.
died of AIDS. So that really hit home with me, and that's a very personal issue, so I wanted to get involved in it.
The Reagan administration brought in this period of suppression and repression.
The president spoke out publicly on AIDS today. His advisors do not expect him to do it often. And he has not weighed in on the controversial questions of AIDS testing and the use of condoms.
I think that abstinence has been lacking in much of the education. One of the things that's been wrong with too much of our education is that no kind of values of right and wrong are being taught.
Her closest friends were gay men. So she wasn't afraid to address it.
Many people think you can tell if someone has AIDS just by looking at them, but they're wrong. If you do have sex, use a condom. It may be the most important thing you ever do.
You see, Madonna et al. Are here to add a few zeros to the cost of decorated denim jackets, all for the benefit of AIDS patient care.
I'm very involved with AIDS Project Los Angeles. For instance, there's a dance marathon here that I was involved in last year.
Nobody else was speaking out for the gay community and AIDS and what was happening, but she was. It was never extremely heavy-handed. There was always this kind of levity to it. Don't stop living, just be careful. Don't stop having sex, just use a condom.
In about an hour, the garden is going to explode with the sound of Madonna and her fans. She's giving a one-woman show for the benefit of AIDS. AMFAR, the American Federation for AIDS Research.
Madonna also wanted this to be an educational event for her fans, so each one received a comic book describing how the disease can and cannot be transmitted.
I remember reading one of those leaflets in my hand and looking at it and thinking, wow, this is blunt, but it's also really simple. I mean, the words were like taboo, but they were necessary.
A lot of these people wouldn't even bother to read it if it wasn't for Madonna. I paid $100 for tickets, and I feel the money's really going to go for a good cause, you know. Something really has to be done about this.
You know, AIDS is a powerful and mysterious disease that continues to elude us.
For her to come out and defy everybody and just say, no, fuck you all. These people are important.
Hopefully, with your presence tonight, the money that we've raised for research grants will help us to find a cure, and I hope to God it does.
The AIDS benefit that we did at Madison Square Garden was emotionally taxing for everybody.
Are you ready to party?
Especially for her, because of Martin. Not just Martin, there had been so many friends of ours who had AIDS. You know, Madonna felt the need at that time to embrace it, and people who had it. And Christopher Flynn. He was a formative person in her life. Just a really sweet guy.
Madonna.
After my father, the most powerful, important relationship in my life was Christopher Flynn, who was my ballet teacher.
He was gay, and I had never met a gay person. What I mean is I never met someone with that kind of a sensibility.
He just was so alive, and he had a certain theatricality about him, and he just attracted me, you know? I mean, he was like a magnet.
He paid a lot of attention to Madonna. She always stood in the front of the class, and often he would ask her to demonstrate what he was expecting of us. He realized her talent. A lot of us were jealous, to say the least.
It was the way he made you proud of yourself. It was the way he came up to me and put my face in his hand and said, "You are beautiful." I had a whole new sense of myself, and I fell in love with the way he treated me and the way he saw me and the way he made me feel. In school, I felt like such an outsider, like such a misfit, like such a weirdo. I kept seeing myself through like macho heterosexual eyes. And I was really down on myself. I was too busy being repressed. When Christopher introduced me to this life, I suddenly thought, that's not the only way that I have to be.
He was responsible for encouraging her to leave there and go to New York. He simply said to her, look, you're way too talented to be spending the rest of your university years here.
Nobody had woken up that part of me.
And he really turned my head around completely and changed my life.
Actress and singer Madonna and actor Sean Penn announced through a spokesman today that they have separated and are planning to divorce.
I think she realized that she didn't need him in the way that she thought. I think that Sean was ill-equipped to deal with her. She had grown up and Sean was still playing at something.
By the time we got to Like a Prayer, there was no question that Madonna was shifting as a human being, as an artist. I think she started thinking about her life, about her mother, about the way she was raised, about her relationships with men.
Madonna went from, I want to write pop songs, to I want to be a confessional writer. You know, music that was much more honest and bare-knuckled. I think that Like a Prayer was, I want to put my soul into the music.
We started writing a few songs, and I decided that I was going to make the theme of the album much more personal and have everything to do with my relationships with my family, religion, with my past, you know, and present, and my relationship to the world right now.
I remember quite well, we had dinner together at Spaga's on Sunset Strip, and afterwards we went for a ride, and we drove up along Mulholland, and she played the song for me.
Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone.
The first thing I said was, this is about sexual ecstasy and religious ecstasy. And she said, yeah. And I want to fuck Jesus on the altar. And I want to fuck black Jesus on the altar.
The idea was to take these iconographic symbols that are held away from everybody in glass cases and somehow bring it down to a level that everyone can relate to.
It's like an angel sighing. I have no choice.
Like a Prayer is concerned with her spiritual relationship to church, to God, to race. I mean, there's so much going on. Nobody questioned the concept originally. We did the budget for it. Then everybody started questioning the concept because the budget was the highest budget that had ever been given to Warner's up to that point. Madonna, she said, they can spend that money. It's done. It's my money. Shut the fuck up. I'll never forget it. She said, we girls have work to do, so all you guys, get out of the room. Every Catholic girl I know that saw Like a Prayer said to me, you know, these are the kind of fantasies I used to have in church while I was at Mass.
My grandmother really represented this like dark, mysterious Italian Catholicism. She was so Catholic. She had saints, she had candles and crucifixes. And she was always whispering in my ear, be a good girl. Let's face it, you know, the priests in their costumes, I mean, to me, something was very sexy about it, too.
You know, there was a huge political backlash and a lot of controversy around Like a Prayer. And I knew there would be some, but I was not prepared for how much there was.
Right now, Pepsi-Cola is probably wishing it hadn't paid pop star Madonna $5 million for a concert tour and a few commercials.
Go ahead. Make a wish.
Folks who make Pepsi-Cola are dropping Madonna from their ad campaign. It's because of a video that she made for her song Like a Prayer.
You know, the artists and the corporate people combined seem to have no sense of shame anymore.
There are reports that WEA Records and Italian State TV, RAI, plan to suspend broadcast of the music video in that country.
They couldn't deal with the fact that I was kissing a black man in my video.
And it made people afraid. And I think the people who reacted negatively to it were afraid of their own feelings that they have about those issues.
The new record had been done, and it was time for the tour. We would sit down together and look at the set list and talk about what it should look like.
You know, and I came in and it was frantic, basically. I mean, we had, I think it was around 21 days to do 18 songs from scratch.
We can't get it to sound better than this, then I'm not doing the show.
It was straight up boot camp. We were in the studio from 10 to 5, 6 days a week. That was the most stunning thing about the rehearsal process, was how deeply involved she was.
What she kept saying to me was, I just want you to do something the world has never seen before.
Tonight, Madonna is rocking Long Island at the Nassau Coliseum. That's where Kelly Wright is right now, live. Kelly?
Roland, has been quite a show. In fact, more than a concert. It's been like a Broadway musical, complete with set design changes as well as costume changes. She's working hard for the money on this 1990 World Tour in what's being called Blonde Ambition.
We began with Metropolis. We ended with Clockwork Orange.
I'm not really interested in a rock concert. I'm interested in presenting more theater so that there's a catharsis. There's an emotional arc. There's a journey that you go through.
Madonna and I, we never talked about we are making some kind of political statement. No, it always came from art. It always came from our hearts. If the art is good, then the statement will be strong.
I'm not saying you have to prescribe to this lifestyle, but, you know, and sometimes you have to exaggerate things to wake people up.
All of us on the Blonde Ambition tour were ethnic. Not a single one of them was a white boy. There was no celebration of my kind back then. And that's why it was important.
The two female singers were straight and one dancer was straight. Everybody else was gay. We were in the age of AIDS, and that was hugely political. They became role models in a way for young gay men who had no role models. She was saying, we're equals here. We're equals in the bedroom. We're equals in the boardroom. You know, so many people missed it because they thought it was just about the sex.
And like everything else that Madonna does, this tour is high on shock value. So much so, in fact, that when she recently performed in Toronto, some city officials there wanted it banned. They thought the concert was so risque.
All of a sudden, just word comes backstage that she had to change the show, or else she could get arrested. We could all get arrested.
Freddie, all you have to do is go out there and tell them I am not changing my show. I am an artist, and this is how I choose to express myself.
I mean, when the police are there and talking about it, we felt like it was more important than ever. And we were a family. We were in it together.
I think when there's a revolution, some people have to get hurt. But the only way to get people to change is to turn the table over and some of the dishes get broken. God?
The superstar has brought her shocking concert tour to Italy. But Catholics there are trying to shut it down.
Even though there are all these profane gestures, I think that my show is very religious and very spiritual. You know, I was dealing with a lot of people being upset by my show throughout the whole tour, and it never affected me. But it truly affected me. When I got to Italy...
Anyone talking?
Silenzio, un po' di spazio, vole! When I got to Italy, I expected to be embraced. But they slammed the door in my face. It was very heavy, and I think it affected me much deeper than I was able to deal with at the time.
Basta! Basta, per favore!
Well, first of all, let me, before we start properly, I just wanted to ask you to just relax and don't be nervous about it. And I'm just a regular guy.
Do I look nervous?
when critics talk about you, and obviously they do on a regular basis, what I've noticed is recently more and more they talk about the way how brilliant you are at marketing yourself, and yet rarely, it seems anymore, do they talk about the songs, the videos, the live performance, the films. It's like Madonna, the phenomena.
Right. People are so frightened of my ideas that they try to undermine my actual talent or any artistic value that may be in any of my work, and just say, oh, she's just doing that to shock people, or oh, look, she's changing her look again, oh, she really knows how to manipulate the media. But the fact is, if that's all I was good at doing, I don't think people would be paying attention to me for this long. I mean, I'm still here.
I don't think that Madonna ever blindly did what she was told. But now she had achieved some kind of autonomy.
As a creative person, I'm digging deeper and deeper. Relationships, love, humanity, intolerance, anger.
She was playing around with the idea that everything you see is fake. You know, I'm none of these things. And I'm all these things. You know, here's who I am. This was all a show.
In the some things never change category, Madonna's still trying to shock all our socks off. This time it's a new book with a simple title. The book is called Sex.
It reportedly features extremely explicit images of Madonna without even her trademark lingerie.
Holy fuck. The first photographs are very Robert Mapplethorpe. They're all set in the Meat District of New York. Basically subbing herself in for queer men.
It's always been about, you know, switching genders and playing with that whole masculine femininity issue. I don't know. I mean, the most interesting people to me are people that aren't just one way. Sex is the metaphor that I use, really, but for me, it's about love. It's about tolerance.
Yeah.
It's about acceptance.
I'm just about to come and she tells me she wants to taste me, so I crawl up to her mouth and lower my pussy onto her lips, and her tongue touches my clit, and she begins to suck, and I am destroyed. I mean, wow.
I mean, I think there's a lot of humor in the book. And if you miss that part of it, then you're gonna miss a lot. I don't think that it will change everybody, but I think that it will open some people's mind for the good, and that's enough, as far as I'm concerned.
3 for each living room.
The superstar's hot new book is selling like hotcakes. Tonight, Heidi Kemp reports it's about sex, it's about hype, it's about $50.
Oh, it's mine, it's mine.
You know, men had not seen a woman show herself that way.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, look at this. Oh, bend over, baby. I'm gonna make you smile. Oh, disgrace. Tremendous. She needs a lot of attention.
Men have always known that women are more powerful than them. Rarely is there a man, and for sure a straight man, that will ever admit that.
And I remember thinking that, you know, you're putting a target on yourself when you do this kind of stuff. But she was adamant. She wanted to make the point about agency.
I think this will scare a lot of people, but to me, I see her as a very honest person to do this.
I think it's repulsive. I think it's repulsive. It's not what I believe love or anything good is about, and I don't appreciate this or approve of it.
Oh my. Wow. Too much.
I would like to say I think that she's a great businesswoman. I think that's particularly the whole reason for this book. But with today and AIDS and all the diseases, I can't see why anyone would want to promote this book and that type of behavior.
Madonna's steamy sex book is being censored in India.
Japanese censors have eliminated pictures that show male genitals.
In France, police have already seized 25,000 copies of the book, saying it may be pornographic.
The sex book, I think, was definitely the hardest she got hit.
And movies and fashion
some people
and
make
modelling
promos for MTV. Some people write their autobiographies. Madonna gets a kit off with a couple of bald lesbian knife-wielding skinheads.
This book is having.
I think she's worked very hard on her body. She's in better shape than she's been for years because she's got actually rather a dumpy, ugly little body.
Being a female in American culture is that you are supposed to be a whore, but you're not supposed to say you're a whore. Everyone's supposed to hope you are, but you're supposed to act like, I would never do that because all I want to do is get married.
They want women to be their sex objects. They want to control when they want to see the nudity. And I'm saying, this is, my body. If I want to take my shirt off, I'm going to do it.
And Madonna was saying, like, the sexual power dynamics are in my hands. I can, I can fuck like a man.
I don't want a penis. Yeah. I just want to be able to play all the same games that humans with penises do.
It's fascinating to watch a woman with this level of sexual freedom. The boldness was a blast off for everyone.
And everyone would say, oh, it's trash. But of course, everyone went out and bought it. So I think that's pretty much a reflection on our society, isn't it? And the dishonesty of most people.
If you're an artist and you have an open mind about something like sexual behavior, there's still a whole bunch of people who want to pretend to be outraged by things that they probably secretly masturbate to, in their little bathrooms in Wichita.
You really want to ask how she got here. I think, you can draw a straight line from 1984 with her wearing boy toy. This is her taking, male domination and moving it into the female universe.
I think the evolution of her voice, the music, the performances, what we were trying to present to the world came natural.
I don't know how many women were able to be artists and show their sexuality and from a real empowered place with no fear, no shame.
It's a form of art to be able to take an image and subvert it and to crack it open and to show people what's inside of it.
No, I don't think she'd be where she is if she was a straightforward personality. I don't think she cared about what the naysayers thought. She's just poking her finger in the eye of everybody. It's a tank just running over everything that's past. But she has been doing since the beginning of time.
To me, the scandal is only a reflection of other people's hang-ups. It's just that the arena that I choose to express myself in is sexuality, and sexuality has always been a taboo subject.
I think Madonna's significance continues to reverberate. If you look at the kids today, they don't listen to men's music as much. They really look to the women to talk to them about what they need to hear.
If you look at an artist like Chappell Roan and Charlie XCX, they're singing pop music that is challenging because there's gender fluidity in the lyrics that I don't think would have existed had Madonna not opened the door for that kind of honesty.
I think she learned a lot from gay men about how to position yourself in the world, you know? It's like, if you're a sexual outlaw, own it.
It's a huge risk to take for a big celebrity like yourself, isn't it?
Well, no risk, no glory.
In the sheer white dress, wearing last night's makeup, all coquettish in the pictures with the flash on. Worships Lana Del Rey in her AirPods. Yeah, she's in her mid-20s, real intelligent, hedonistic with the gravel drawl and dead eyes. You say she's anorexic and you heard she likes some people say it. Think you already know it, but you don't. This one's for all my main girls. This one's for all my